Are you thinking about trying open water swimming? Wondering if it's for you, or maybe you've entered your first triathlon and you're trying to wrap your head around the open water swim? Well, we're here with tips and advice for your first open water swim. The first thing to think about when it comes to open water swimming is your kit. Now, it doesn't need to be complicated, but making sure you've got the right kit appropriate for your open water swim venue will make a big difference when it comes to your level of enjoyment. A good set of goggles is a must-have. You might get away with your old, scratch, slightly foggy pair in the pool, but when it comes to open water, you really do need to see where you're going. So make sure you have a pair that have a nice, good seal so that no water leaks in and the lens is fairly new and not going to fog up. And if you are swimming somewhere where it's likely to get quite sunny, having a tinted lens is going to be great for helping cut through that glare. If you're lucky enough to swim somewhere warm and tropical, then you're not going to need a wetsuit. But wetsuits do actually provide more than just warmth. They give you quite a lot of buoyancy, which can make you feel more comfortable and a little bit safer in the water as well. There's a lot of choice out there, but you do want to look for a swimming-specific wetsuit. Yes, you could potentially use an old surfing or sailing wetsuit, but it's going to be really heavy and very unflexible around the shoulders. So swimming wetsuits tend to be a bit thinner, but they're going to be very tight, a little bit fragile, so make sure you put them on very carefully. However, they do give great flexibility around the shoulders and just designed specifically for you to swim in. They've also got a coating which helps you slip through the water that much faster. Now, you don't need to break the bank and go and purchase a high-end wetsuit before your first swim, but we would suggest that you try a swim wetsuit for that. So if you can maybe hire one from your local swim centre or even borrow one from a friend, so it can just give you an idea of what a difference it is when you swim in a swimming wetsuit. A Toflow is another recommended piece of kit and sometimes an essential kit. Now, this is basically a safety piece that's going to help you be more visible when you're swimming. And a lot of venues actually require you have one. And if you're swimming somewhere that doesn't have a lot of people or isn't lifeguarded, we'd probably recommend taking it anyway. They're not very expensive and they're going to give you very little drag. Simply goes round your waist and tows along behind you so you can be easily seen. Another useful item to keep in your kit bag is some sort of anti-chafe. Now, if you're wearing a new wetsuit or you're swimming in the sea, your neck can be susceptible to getting a little bit of rub. So it's always a good idea to prevent it before it starts by just putting some lubrication all the way around the top. It's recommended that you use a non-petroleum base. There's plenty of options out there, and it's just going to save you having a sore neck after your swim. Once you get to your venue, you need to pick a route. Now, lots of places will actually have set routes, but if not, you're going to need to work out maybe a point to swim to. Before you get in, though, we'd recommend that you speak to a lifeguard or any local so you know that it's safe. And whatever you do, either swim with somebody or make sure that someone is on shore keeping an eye on you. And with that in mind, we'd recommend that you start off by just doing a small loop. You can always do that loop and come back and do it a few more times rather than swimming out into the distance and realizing you've gone too far and maybe you've even had a current with you and it's going to be hard to get back. And then you want to make sure that you start slowly and you get in gradually. As tempting as it might be to jump straight in and get going to avoid that procrastination, it can be a little bit dangerous, especially if it's cold water. So you actually want to get in fairly slowly, let your body get used to the temperature, let the water into your wetsuit and make any adjustments you might need. And you'll also be able to control your breathing, make sure you're nice and relaxed before you set off on your swim. One of the most intimidating things about swimming in open water is the lack of that black line to follow and not knowing where you're going unless you've got your head up. And with that, there can be a real temptation to swim all of it with your head up so you're sighting on something ahead of you. But that's going to be really tiring and it's not really proper swimming. So you need to trust in your sighting experience and put your head down and swim normally and lift your head up to sight around every 5 to 10 strokes, and you'll start to get a bit of a rhythm and be able to trust that you are going in a straight line. And this is a skill that you can actually practice in the pool as well as in the open water. Without walls and turns, it's easy to slip into the habit of just swimming continuously when it comes to open water until you're so exhausted you're not going to enjoy it anymore. So make sure you factor in some breaks. It's quite a good idea to even plan them and say swim for a set amount of time or a set distance, or maybe if you do have a small lap that you're doing, you can have a rest after each lap. Just make sure you factor that in so that you can still keep the swim quality and you're not going to get put off by getting too tired. Well, the wide open space is part of the appeal of open water, but remember, you're unlikely to be the only person out there, so make sure you respect your fellow swimmers and be aware that they might also be not going in an exactly straight line. So with that in mind, sometimes collisions may happen, you might bump into each other, but just make sure you take a breath, take stock, regain your composure and carry on. These things are just part and parcel of swimming in open water. Now, hopefully as you get more practice, more used to it, you can start to increase the distance that you swim, and you can even start to develop some other skills such as swimming around the buoys or even drafting off other swimmers. But that's something for another video. If you're about to go and do your first open water swim, good luck with it, and make sure you let us know how you get on. You can do that in the comments section below. And for those other videos, well, you can make sure you don't miss any of them from GTN by clicking on the globe. And if you have enjoyed it, give us a like.